They're two happy women bringing you inspiring stories, politics, pop culture, and lifestyle hacks, all with an eye to making our communities and our country a better place to live. It's the Happy Women Podcast with your hosts, Jen Horn and Katie Gorka.
Thanks for joining us and welcome to another episode of the Happy Women Podcast. I'm Jennifer Horn.
And I'm Katie Gorka.
And we are back together again. Lots of traveling, lots of trips, lots of big news, lots of elections. Holy smokes, we have a lot to talk about, but I think we probably have to talk about maybe the biggest, most significant news in your life, which is that my friend, your husband, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, is going back to the White House. We got to talk about that a little bit. That's so exciting. How did you guys find out? What was it all like?
Okay, well, it's always tricky to know how much I can talk about and how much I can't, but I don't think there's a problem with me saying that President Trump called him personally Friday night when we were just sitting around. And it's funny because my favorite part of every day is seeing the press releases by the president of his cabinet appointments. It's so much fun to watch. It's just like one win after another. And I was so surprised. Friday was a quiet day. Nothing was happening. And then Friday night, like boom, 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 a whole bunch of them started coming out one after the other. And the president called Sebastian and said, I just want to let you know, in about 30 minutes, we're going to release it. So we were super, super excited. And it's just really, I just can't even express it. I can't express how fun it is, how exciting it is. You know, Sebastian in particular, he was targeted very early on. There were a handful of people, including and above all, the president himself, back in 2016. The left just was ruthless in taking people down, and they went for Trump first and foremost. But there were a bunch of people around him, a lot of the really pro-MAGA people that the left just targeted. And we counted at one point, I think Sebastian had 400 attack articles written about him in about a 3-month period. And it was brutal. I mean, it was just horrible. I think I've told this story on air, but did I ever tell you the story about driving home? Because I was on transition as well at that time, and I was working at DHS. And did I ever tell you the story about driving home from DHS?
You told me, but I think you have to share it with everyone, just in case we didn't, because it is absolutely incredible. And it shows your warrior spirit, too, which I love.
Oh, my gosh, which was just like a baby little in its baby phase at that stage. But yeah, I mean, he was being attacked. I was being attacked. Incredible articles were being written about us. And I was driving home from DHS headquarters one day, which is located up right in D.C., right next to American University. And I'm approaching American University and I see a protest going on. I was talking to Julia on the phone at the time and I said, oh, Lulu, there's a protest going on. And I get a little bit closer and I say, oh my gosh, they are protesting your father. The whole protest was about Sebastian. It was get Gorka out of the White House. Gorka's a Nazi. I got to tell you, I am such a non-conflictual person. I had a heart attack. But I said to her, I said, what do I do? What do I do? And I thought I had 2 seconds to decide. And I just thought, I cannot drive past this. I will not be able to live with myself if I don't go up and talk to them. So I pulled over the car and I walked up. Okay, to be fair, it was probably 20 people. It wasn't like hundreds where I had to worry about getting lynched. But yeah, it was about 20 people. And I went up and I said, hi, I just want to tell you, I'm Sebastian Gorka's wife, and I'm here to talk about your protest. And I tried to set them straight. And, it's a whole long story that I don't want to go into all the details about the pin of his father's and is he a Nazi? But, the interesting thing is, in the end, other people on our side did a really deep dive to research, does this guy really have anti-Semitism in his background? And absolutely not. And not only did they find it was all a lie, but his father had actually helped his Jewish friends in Budapest to escape arrest. So he came out squeaky clean. But of course, the Washington Post now is dredging it back up again. And this is what they do. And I just want to tell you, the most frustrating thing is, my mom saying to me, wait, what is this? Is this true about Sebastian? I'm like, you got to learn this is what the left does. They don't say anything nice. They will just come out with their lies. That's what they do.
And I think, we've seen it with all of the cabinet picks so far. I mean, by and large, all of these stories, Tulsi Gabbard's a Russian agent, whatever it might be. They've got the stories about Hegseth. They've got the stories. Everything is going to come out. And here's what makes me really worried. And I want to get back to the appointment in a second because it's really cool. And actually, let me just say this because I know we're going to talk about the news. When I got the text that it was happening and I saw that announcement, I don't think I could have been more excited if it were me. I mean, I know how much this meant to him. And I know that I think it's just so incredibly important. And I feel better truly knowing that Dr. G is going to be in the White House because I know that he's going to keep an eye on us from a counterterrorism perspective. And I think our country's better for it. So I'm just super excited for you guys. And I'm excited for our country because the reason we're all smiling after this win is that we know that there is going to be someone who is pro-America in the White House. There is someone who's going to be a strong leader in the White House. And we see all of these incredible people who are not part of the establishment, who are going to go in, maybe break some things if they have to, but do it for the good of the country. And I'm smiling from ear to ear. So I didn't mean to put you on the spot with that one, but it's such a big news story for you personally. We had to. But these cabinet selections, just to get back to them for a second, I think people are spinning out of control about this. And President Trump deserves to have the people around him. He's got the mandate. He's got to have the people who are willing to go in there and throw a few flames every once in a while. And watching the news media go crazy when literally you have Anthony Blinken as a Secretary of State who's like a part-time rock star. It's like, how can you question any of these qualifications when it's not like they were much better in previous administrations? Presidents get to bring in the people that they trust around them. And I've been excited to watch this, but hearing the news media spin out has been absolutely ridiculous. And I'm bummed at the people in our party who let the Matt Gaetz nomination go. I'm mad at the people in our party for not standing up and fighting more. And look, I think Pam Bondi is going to be a great attorney general. But what that showed is that Republicans are still not getting the memo. And we need to not defeat ourselves. We need to be working to defeat the left.
I'm so glad you said that. I knew because I was in New Zealand when all this stuff started happening. And I was so dying to talk to you because my attitude is exactly as yours is, and the thing that I kept thinking is, look, President Trump has created one of the most successful real estate empires in the world. He created one of the most successful TV shows in the world. He then had one of the most successful presidencies in the world. And then on top of that, against all odds, he managed to win. I think we can give him the benefit of the doubt. And I just think it shows incredible arrogance for people who say, oh, no, I know better who he should pick.
Yeah.
So, and on that note, I just want to say, I think it's really interesting that he's choosing kind of a range of people, former Democrats, junior people, but he knows that they'll go in and really shake things up. I'm not even bothered that he's picked Marco Rubio, kind of somebody we think of as more establishment. I mean, I think it's really interesting. To me, it's a big tent Republican Party that he has created. I think it's what he set out to create. I think you're seeing it in his cabinet picks. And I say, God bless him. I can't wait to see how it all turns out in terms of policy changes, whatever. But I will say this too. I think many people feel this way. I'm almost most grateful for the team of Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk, because I think you need people with that kind of entrepreneurial vision and willingness to shake things up, and who are going to come in and say, business as usual is not working. And, I was really thinking through the whole list of things that aren't working. If you look at the declines in our safety, in our quality of our education, in our economy, in our stature in the world, I mean, I feel like it's been one decline at another, with an ever ascending debt, government debt and government spending. It's clearly not working. And I fully trust that President Trump and the team that he's assembling are going to shake things up and give us a whole new America.
Put a seatbelt on, because it's going to be fast. I mean, already, I think it's funny how quickly these cabinet picks have come out. And I mean, it is speeding through. You remember the fast speed of President Trump, what I think Seb calls it the speed of Trump, right? Something like that. I mean, that's kind of where everybody's going to have to be. And I love seeing it because he knows he's got 4 years and truly really only 2 to go in there and do a large amount of the work that needs to be done before we have to worry about the midterm election. So he knows he's got to hit the ground running this time, and he knows how to govern. And I'm just so hopeful about what comes next. And to your point about Doge, I've heard all of the pundits on the left talking about how this is all for show. They're not going to be able to do anything. We need to have a whole office set up by Congress and trying to poo-poo this. But even if they just bring the public's attention to the waste and the fraud and the corruption,
which they're already
and the
doing.
abuse,
I mean,
which
the
they're
tweets.
already doing.
Yeah.
I mean, just bring some attention to it, and all of a sudden you're going to start to see things start to correct themselves. So I love that they're throwing so much already at this incoming administration. They even haven't had one day on the job yet, and they're already planning for failure. It could be incredibly great if they're able to go in there and make those cuts. But at the very least, the fact that people are talking about this, it matters. And when you look around and you see that the only jobs that are being created in this country right now are government jobs, you realize that the government is getting way too big. And we need to bring some power back to those people who are in the private sector. And so I'm still feeling good. I'm still looking at everything that's happened, and I'm feeling the people coming out of hiding, the football players on Sunday who are doing the Trump dance now. It is finally normalized. We are not going to be able to hear him being called a Nazi and a fascist and all this craziness that they love to throw at Donald Trump, because people are waking up. And I think the more power they feel they have, the more people will speak out about watching his successes.
And I just want to say, I particularly appreciate, talking about the fact that they're not even in office and they're already doing things. I particularly appreciate the fact that they are bringing attention to the fact that you've got, I don't know, millions, tens of millions of dollars being spent to keep these really expensive offices open in Washington, D.C., and nobody's coming. And I knew this because Fairfax County, we're right here. We are the home of many, many government workers. And I knew that Fairfax County had the highest percentage of people who are working from home. It's because government workers have not been made to go back into the office, which I just find a travesty when other Americans are having to go back to work and these government workers are working from home. So I hope that is the first thing they change on day one. Make people get back into the office.
It's no secret. The world's unpredictable. One moment, everything's fine, and the next, the power's out and the cell towers are down. But with a satellite phone from sat123.com, you don't have to be cut off from the world. No matter where you are or what's happening, Sat123 keeps you connected. Whether you're deep in the mountains, on the road, or dealing with a natural disaster, your satellite phone will work when nothing else does. This is about being prepared. Sat123.com is family-owned, American-built, and focused on keeping you safe. They understand that in today's world, connection is more than convenience. It's essential. So here's the deal. Go to sat123.com and use code Katie for $25 off your first purchase. Don't get caught off guard. Stay connected. Stay prepared with Sat123.
Yes, take off the pajama pants. Look, I'm happy that you got to wear them for 5 years, but it's time. It's time to step outside and go back to work. I agree. And if not, look, if they are going to change it, then change it and get rid of the buildings. We don't need all of these empty pieces of property that are just sucking up thousands and millions. Let's be real, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars every single year. So I'm excited for that. And also the border. I'm feeling so good. I feel like the guy who is most empowered so far has been the border czar. I think that Tom Homan is already working.
Oh, yes.
I think he's been working since day one. He's been out there and he's been talking to the media. And I think that if you look at all of the cabinet picks, and again, whether you love them or you don't love them, Marco Rubio was a tough one for me to swallow as well, because I was very hopeful it would be Rick Grinnell. But I think he might be ambassador to Russia, which might be great.
Wow.
And that's a winning situation because that conflict will end with President Trump in the office, and that will be good. But it shows you that President Trump is bringing in those other voices, and it shows you that at the top of his list, I see 3 priorities: cracking down on China, which is why I think he was able to bring in Marco Rubio, because he's been a hawk in that respect. Obviously, picking up the economy, and then, of course, securing the border. Every pick kind of leads you back to kind of those 3 main objectives. And I think he's got the right people in the right for the right reasons. But this Tom Homan, already going to the border this week as we sit here and record this podcast, already getting Texas and coming to an agreement with Texas to get land to help manage some of the deportations that are going to be gone. And you and I didn't have a chance to talk at the end of last week, but my city of Los Angeles decided that they were going to become a sanctuary city. Now, I would have bet you my non-existent family fortune that we were already a sanctuary city, Katie. But we weren't. Apparently, it was Mayor Garcetti, who passed an executive order basically in 2019 with protections for illegals. But California is a sanctuary state with SB 54, so we didn't even need Los Angeles to actually officially become a sanctuary city. So this was all for show within the city council, a waste of time again for another meeting to take another vote that doesn't mean a whole lot of anything. But how they do this in the middle of the Laken Riley murder trial, the backdrop of an illegal alien who was brought into the country or allowed into the country, committed a crime, assaulting a minor, let out of jail, and then handed a plane ticket that you and I paid for to fly to Georgia where he could hunt down, rape, and then ultimately murder this woman. It is so tone deaf. And I think these Democrats just don't get it. I think they are in panic mode. They just think they have to double down and fight big bad Trump. And they are not listening to what the voters, even in far left California, said to them during this election cycle, which is prioritize our safety. They're not doing it.
And I got to tell you, it continue. You know, we always talk about the parallels between Virginia and California because I think we got a lot in common, but we're going through the exact same thing. We just had a very public rape case in Herndon, which is in Fairfax County. Again, it was an illegal who'd been picked up before for something else. He was released. He raped a woman. And what I find really interesting is Herndon has a big Hispanic community. And one of the Hispanic moms that I know is organizing tonight a prayer vigil and protest against this. So I'm telling you, I know that the Democrats are losing supporters left and right, but this is not going to help them at all. And also the fact that, I'm sure you've seen these articles about Tren de Aragua, the Venezuelan gang. There have been multiple articles now about how this group is present in many states, including Virginia. These gangs hit our Hispanic citizens the hardest because a lot of times they're in the same schools. They're trying to get these kids. They're trying to get Hispanic kids to join the gangs. And this is just, it's going to blow back. And I hope it blows back on them.
I do too.
Really do.
I keep saying it's doubling down on stupid. And I'm a baseball fan and my Dodgers won the World Series. I like to remind people of that, just like I like to remind people President Trump's going to be the next president of the United States. Got a lot of winning over here. But the game that decided the World Series was Game 5 against the New York Yankees. And in that game, it wasn't that the Dodgers won. They had a great season. They had a great series. But it wasn't that the Dodgers won that game. It was that the New York Yankees lost that game. They made, I think, 4 or 5 errors. They just let the game go after they were ahead in the 5th inning. And that's the message that I'm looking at again with the left. It is Republicans now who are watching the Democrats implode. They are doubling down on stupid. They will defeat themselves in the future. And it's awful because we suffer in the meantime. But if you look at my state of California and you see that Proposition 36 passed with a 70% margin and George Gascon was booted out by 20 points, and the Oakland mayor is gone, the San Francisco mayor is gone, all of these far leftists are out. And you say in California that your answer to that is more of the same that got them in trouble to begin with. Well, then bring it on. I mean, maybe we're looking at California as at least a purple state like sometimes Virginia is. I think they're just really doubling down on the wrong path and they are not hearing us.
But this raises a really good point, which is, I think a lot of us who worked so hard to help get President Trump elected, you kind of want to sit back on your laurels and shop for inaugural ball dresses and, do the fun stuff. But we really, I will say this, here in Fairfax County, we are already planning how we are going to win next November. And I think you've got very much the same situation in California. So we both made gains, but not nearly enough to turn this around. And so I think the really big question, and this is something that you and I are going to be exploring over the next several episodes, we're going to be talking to some of the people and some of the individuals and groups that really made a difference in moving the numbers in this last election. What can we learn from them? How can we implement these lessons? And I just want to mention one thing in particular. We're going to get into a lot of the technicality, the importance of voter registration, the importance of absentee ballot chase. But one thing that I want to talk about today, and it's because a good friend of mine wrote a really just beautiful op-ed this morning for our newsletter. It'll come out on Thursday. And her op-ed, this is somebody who has really kind of more been in the background, right? She's such a committed Christian and Republican and fighter, but she's kind of been in the background. But this election, she sort of came out, got involved as a poll greeter, and really she brings such spirit to everything she does. And so one of the things she had done was she decorated her car like full Trump, right? And she has not taken it down.
Good.
So she tells this beautiful story in her op-ed about what's been happening as she drives around with the Trump signs on the car and the people that engage with her, and how it's helped her to find other people in her community who now want to get involved and work with her. And I will just say, I see it every day. Every time I go in public with my husband, who insists on wearing his red MAGA hat everywhere he goes, it is so interesting to watch the reactions. It's not, I think we all thought like, oh, do that in public, you're going to be attacked. No, you can't believe the love and the people coming forward, just so excited, saying, love the hat, so excited. And I think, the message here for me is, part of what we need to be doing is really standing up, being bold, being proud of what we believe in, and really helping in our communities to move the needle on the narrative and saying it's okay to be a Trump supporter.
I agree with you. I mean, that's why I'm loving seeing the UFC fighters. That's why I'm loving seeing the football players start to do the Trump Day. I love that. That's so out of the Breitbart playbook, right? Where we have to influence culture to make real changes. And I think that's a piece of it. But I think you're right that we all have that role in our life too. And it's so funny. I was talking with Steve Hilton, who was at Fox News, might be running for governor in California. He's playing with that idea. And he said he was going to a speaking event in Palm Springs, and he was leaving out of San Francisco airport. And he said that he watched 3 people in MAGA hats get on his plane in San Francisco. So I do believe that people are coming out of the closet. I do believe that they're not going to be afraid, but I think we need to encourage people, because what we've seen is a huge victory for President Trump. In our own states, we need to continue that, right? We need to continue it to bring in the policies that are going to help people. And in your state of Virginia and my state of California, there are other states across the country that battle with this as well. We had some really big wins, but you can celebrate, as you mentioned, at the inaugural ball, which I'm guessing you get to go to, and we have to talk fashion in one of these episodes, because that's fun. But yes, we can have our night of celebration. We can have our days, our weeks of celebration, but we have to get to work again. And we have the wind at our back right now. There's some momentum that's built. So we need President Trump to deliver on his promises. That's hugely important. But for instance, my next thing that I'm going to be working on in California is a new initiative for voter ID in our state. I think that is something that can positively impact the outcome of elections moving forward. And there's an appetite for it. And we've got some congressional representatives and some assembly people who are ready to go. That's something that we can really get on board with and bring in everyone and make a change. I'm hopeful that President Trump will also encourage the House to do something something on a national scale. That would be really nice. A national federal voter ID bill would be great. But in the meantime, I think these are the projects that we can work on, and we can't go away. We're going to have to continue to try to build some momentum to make real changes in our cities. And none of us are out of the game. Even if you are in the reddest of red states, we need everybody on board once again to try to make things a little bit better down the road.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Voter and election integrity, I think, is going to be one of the big areas of focus because there is so much momentum. And I think what really gives it the momentum is not that it's a small handful of people at the top. It's the fact that there is a really massive citizen movement. A lot of people after 2020 got involved, and it's become kind of an unstoppable wave. And so it's really interesting because it's the House Administration Committee, for whatever reason, that deals with elections. They are already at work on this. They are already working on bills to go forward. So they're looking at things like No Vote for Non-Citizens Act, Protecting American Voters Act. There's all kinds of things that need to be done to ensure that only citizens are voting. And that has to happen because there are, some of the biggest problems that we have with our election integrity are because of federal legislation. But there's a whole nother layer at the state level that's equally problematic. And I'll just say for Virginia, the fact that we have no excuse absentee ballots, the fact that we have 45 days of early voting for every election. We had 3 elections this year, 2 primaries and a federal. That gave us a ton of early voting. But we also have problems where like DMV is not validating the information they need to validate. So they are complicit in non-citizens voting. And I just want to say, for anybody who cares about elections, you got to get involved in your local election integrity efforts because it's a massive lift. It's super, super complicated. The Democrats have been doing an incredible job to erode the sanctity and safety of our elections in recent years. And there are so many complicated layers. I mean, I will just tell you, our team, and we have an incredible team in Fairfax County, they have been working. I mean, we've got 2 women in particular, but then they've got also more people around them. I mean, they've been pretty much working full time on this since the 2020 election. And it took them most of that time just to sort out through the FOIAs, through the investigations, where the holes were, but they found them. And so now I think it's up to the rest of us to carry the ball and fight for those changes. And I'm telling you, if we don't, I still don't know how they didn't steal this last election. I know it's what we were all afraid of, but I still think it's their strategy. So we've got to get on top of this right now while we have the advantage on the Hill.
There is a congressional race in Orange County that has still not been called yet because.
So which one is that?
Michelle Steele. In California, we have 37 days post-election day for vote counting, apparently. And John Duarte, I don't think they've called that race either. He was ahead. But here's what happened. So just to the election integrity point, it's not over on election day. So what you need then are people who are going to be ballot curers, which means that if somebody forgot to sign a ballot or if they signed outside of the box or whatever it might be, if there's a problem with the dating, the candidates are then tasked to have ballot curers go and cure the ballots, fix them, get the errors fixed so that they can properly be counted. And in many cases, in Mike Garcia's race in LA County, for instance, years ago when he actually won, this time around he didn't, but he had his election came down to ballot curing. So a lot of these candidates have full ballot curing operations. Michelle Steele's, and this is how they still trick you into it. And again, we have no proof of funny business, but it sure doesn't look right. When on election day, she's ahead by a significant amount, about 5 percentage points. And then all of a sudden that gap just starts closing and closing and closing. And every ballot dump that came in after election day, she has lost. It is only ticking up her opponent's totals every dump. And so now she's behind by, I think, about 2 percentage points. At one point, they were separated by 222 ballots.
Wow.
It's incredible how the late ballots all come in for Democrats. And That is a problem. If we continue to let this happen, it should be, and I think even Democrats would agree with this, probably not the ones in elected office, but if your vote comes in on election day. This nonsense with the week after election day and the endless counting, it makes people distrust the system. And I promise I would feel that way no matter which candidate was winning. It just does not feel right. It does not look right. It does not send the right message. And something has to switch. We have to be able to do something. And it's up to us because they're going to keep it going as long as they can unless someone disrupts them.
I hear you. So we've got our work cut out for us.
We do. All right. So let's really quick because it is Thanksgiving week. And I am so grateful for you and for our friendship. And I am so grateful for all of you that spend time with us as well on the podcast and share it with your friends. We really do thank you for that. It's like our little family of happy women around here. Even you men that listen, we love you too. But tell me about Thanksgiving at the Gorka house. What happens? What does the holiday mean for you?
Well, this is a really special one, actually, because we're heading into the snowstorms of Colorado because our son is going to be getting married there next summer. So we're flying into Colorado to do some wedding planning and then spending Thanksgiving with his new in-laws. So we're just super excited about that. What about you?
So a combo Thanksgiving for the first time, huh? This is the first of many combos.
Yes,
I like
exactly.
I like it. Thanksgiving for me is always great. It's always about the family for me. And we've kind of gotten in this thing as our family has left the state of California and moved on to North Carolina and to Colorado and to, well, my dad's family's in Wisconsin. We take in some strays. So a lot of time it becomes about not only the family that we have here by blood, but also our chosen family. So I typically will always cook every year, but this year my mom said, you've had a lot going on. She said, I don't know if you need to be worrying about planning. So she's going to be hosting at her house for the first time, I think, since I was a kid. So that's going to be really fun to just be with her. And I'll make my famous sweet potatoes and stuffing and away we go. I'm hoping for just great time with the family. It really is about the people. I'm very lucky to have amazing family and friends in my life. And I love to celebrate them even on every day, but on the holidays.
I just want to say one other thing that I love about Thanksgiving and family holidays is that I think a really fun way to spend time together is playing games. So
I just bought a new one.
I was going to ask you, if you do play games, what do you like? What did you buy?
Of course we do. We play, first of all, when I was a kid, it was like a rite of passage. When you became a certain age, you had to learn how to play canasta because that was my grandmother's game. And
my gosh. Okay.
I love canasta. I'm a shark, so watch out. Don't play with me. But we used to have canasta tournaments. This time around, since not a lot of people know how to play canasta anymore, I just found a game called Mind the Gap. Have you heard about this?
No.
So it's a new game and it's a trivia game, but it's set up so that people of all generations can play. So apparently, and I haven't played yet, but it just came. I just ordered it from Amazon. It's from boomers basically to age 10. And so they have questions set up for each generation so that each generation can play and actually know the references. So I'm excited to give that one a try. I'll give you a full report next time we get together.
Super fun. Okay, I just have to say my favorites are, I love the word games.
Me too.
I love Scrabble. I love Boggle. But then there's another game that we discovered. It's like a trading game. It's very fun. You need sort of at least probably 4 people, but you can even go up to 8 or 10. And it's called Pit. And that's one of my funnest. Yeah.
What is Pit? I'm going to have to look it up.
Yeah. It's like you're trading commodities, but it's a very lively sort of, I don't know. It's a shouting, fun, competitive game. I love it. Try it. If you haven't tried it, it's a really fun one.
I love all the word games too.
It's funny because Julia just went off to the toy store to try to find a new game that we can take to Colorado with us.
Okay, so another really fun one that we have a good time with, I think it's called Taggle, something like that. It's like a round plastic thing with all the letters on them. And they give you a category and then everybody in a row. So let's say it's fruits and you have to hit the letter and hit A and then say apple. And then the next person goes and hits a letter B for, boysenberry. And it's so much fun because you do run out, especially when some of the categories are a little trickier than fruit. But that's a fun one too. It's good for a group.
I'm going to make a note. Good. All right.
All right. Well, happy Thanksgiving to all of you. Happy Thanksgiving week. And we, again, are so grateful for you. Please share Happy Women with your friends. We are in growth mode. So sharing it, giving us those 5-star reviews, we really appreciate it and appreciate you. Don't forget to get Katie's book just in time for Christmas. Next Gen Marxism, available wherever you get your books. Makes a great stocking stuffer. I know it's going to be good. And you can check it all out on our website, katiegorka.org. You can also search her out, Catherine Gorka, on Facebook. And Gorka Katie on Twitter. You can find me on social media as well. Jennifer Horn Radio on Facebook and Instagram, and Jennifer Horn on Truth and X. Thanks for joining us. It's another episode of the Happy Women Podcast.